Hey, Whiskey Tango Charlie, Troy, we're here, Southern Distilling. Good friend Pete's joined us here, the founder of this thing, he and his wife Vienna. And wow, Pete, I'm just blown away. I shouldn't be surprised because I know the way your mind works, but just the growth and what's happened here over our last visit is phenomenal.
Right.
And the brand is really catching fire, if you will, just getting out there. You're the official sponsor, partner of the Carolina Panthers.
And the Charlotte Football Club, don't forget.
And the Charlotte Football Club, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And we're here today, and just because it's the release of this new bottle here.
Yeah,
today.
it's a super exciting day, and we're honored to have you guys, and we really appreciate both you guys being here. So, yeah, I mean, growth is, we love the growth. We were just talking earlier before the camera started about, we love being busy. We don't ever complain about being busy. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that's so gratifying. But today is really about our partnership with Carolina Panthers, which extends from our partnership with Charlotte Football Club. But we're a North Carolina company. This grain is grown in North Carolina. Home is where you've got to win first before you go out. And really, what more important market than right here in North Carolina, starting in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. And the Panthers are such a big part of that. So today is all about this release of this limited release. We picked 5 single barrels. Mm-hmm. The first 175 bottles, I think, are being sold, or maybe, I'm not sure if we've sold through them yet or not, but getting close. And then tomorrow we'll open it up to ABC stores. But I think that one of the things that's so cool about this, guys, is that, as I understand it, this is the first time that the NFL has sanctioned a barrel selection program. So,
oh wow,
yeah, so that's a big deal, and the fact that we were able to get this done really kind of in less than 60 days is nothing short of a miracle. So we've got a great team.
Wow.
We've got great partners with the Tepper Sports Organization and the Panthers to help make this happen, and so we're just thrilled to have this opportunity. And one of the things that I think is important to note is that this is celebrating the 2003 NFC Championship that took us to the Super Bowl in 2004.
Right.
And so this is to commemorate that huge success.
Yeah. And you had Rucker and Muhsin Muhammad.
Yeah, those guys are going to be here later today. We're all excited about that.
Yeah.
2 legends, of the club for sure. Those are also bourbon guys. So they said, hey, we want to be a part of that. We're, Vienna was, was thrilled. She was writing that check. She was like, I can't believe I get to write a check to these guys. They're now vendors. I was like,
my gosh.
So she's, I appreciate football. She's a football fanatic. So.
Right. Well, as the change of the ownership of the Panthers and Tepper Sports, they really changed the dynamic of what's happening in Charlotte. I mean, Jerry Richardson, a great foundation, but I think the Tepper organization brings a little different thing to it.
Well, if you've not been to the stadium and seen the renovations, you got to get down and check it out. But the money that's been invested in the stadium, kind of updating it, and the club area downstairs is just off the charts. But those investments are important. I think the other thing that really means a lot to us is that the Tepper organization in general, as well as their concessionaire, which is Levy, they've really said, hey, let's support local business. Mm-hmm. Let's get behind the local businesses and really kind of lift them up. And that's the thing that really has encouraged us to make these investments and partner with them. I mean, it's a big investment for a little company like Southern Distilling Company. But we love that partnership.
Right. Cool.
104 distilleries in the state of North Carolina, if I'm correct.
I think you're right.
Right? And at one time, there were over 250 just right here in Statesville.
At one point in time, there were more than 450 within a 50-mile radius of Statesville.
More than 450.
Yeah, more than 450 federally permitted, licensed operating distilleries within a 50-mile radius of Statesville. This is a history that a lot of people don't know about. When I take people on tours, one of the things that I say is that, this is an industry that loves a great story, and a couple of them are true. Right? What does that tell you about the rest? Right? All right. And it's so cool when we get to talk about this real history that's really been forgotten. But prior to 1903, Statesville was considered the liquor capital of the world. We had 6 major rectification houses, rectifiers that were here. Those rectifiers were bringing product from those 450 plus distilleries. Now these weren't distilleries like we're operating. They were farm-based distilleries. Some of them were doing fruit brandy, some of them were doing grain alcohol, some were doing corn whiskeys, but they were bringing all of this product in as a value-added product. They were getting more for it than their crops. And they were bringing it into Statesville. Those rectifiers were redistilling it and then bottling it and packaging it. And we had a lot of beverage alcohol, a lot of liquor flowing out of Statesville, up to 30,000 gallons by rail every day. So ask the question, why Statesville? Well, the reasons go back even before that industry. Statesville is kind of at the center of the state, and it's always been a trade route.
Right.
So even before there were roads, before there were railroads, it was still an important trade hub. What grew from that was a significant railroad system that happened to intersect here in Statesville. And if you look back in the late 1800s, we didn't have road systems, we didn't have interstate highways. Products were going by rail or boat, and we had rail. And that's what drove the growth of the industry.
Right.
So why do we not know about it? Because we were driven into Prohibition 17 years before the rest of the country.
Right.
So the Anti-Saloon League, the Women's Temperance Movement, which was primarily in the Northeast, they were like, hey, you know what, we don't like this liquor thing. Let's cut the head off the snake.
Right.
Well, that happened to be right here in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So they successfully drove North Carolina, Statesville first, into Prohibition, again, 17 years before the rest of the country in 1903. And this is what led to the birth of moonshining. Those 450 families didn't stop. They didn't stop. That was their craft. That was their trade. They just started doing it illicitly.
Yeah.
And of course that leads to NASCAR, and we all know those histories. But this is a lost history that we're really trying to tap back into.
And I think, Pete, what a cheerleader you have, and what you've built here as to spearhead that return, if you will. Is we joke all the time. We get that thing when we're doing tastings and whatnot of a bourbon. Well, that. This is not from Kentucky. This is not bourbon. Totally false, right? So yeah.
Totally false. Yeah.
Totally false.
Totally false. But let's think back 25, 30 years ago. Where did good wine come from? Came from Europe, right?
Yeah.
California wine, well, that's junk. Where are we today? California wine is more sought after very often than even the European varieties.
Yes.
And that's kind of the transition that we see. Great wines don't have to come from Europe. They don't even have to come from California. Great bourbons don't have to come from Kentucky. Right. Great whiskeys don't need to come from Tennessee. Great things are happening all across the nation, and the consumer's beginning to appreciate that.
Yeah. So the Paragon, it's still relatively new. That's probably is that the newest? So where was the inspiration?
It's not the newest. It's not the newest release.
Okay.
It is our newest release is actually one of our heritage brands that was produced here 130 years ago, which is the Hunting Creek Rye.
Hunting Creek Rye.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But your question is about the Paragon. The inspiration. I mean, Paragon was the first thing that we distilled here. So we roll the clocks back 7-8 years ago when we first lit up the still. It was the Paragon that we made first.
Okay.
And if you ask what the inspiration was, we're in the unique position of we get to make what we like. We get to make what we love, right? And so my favorite bourbons are wheated bourbons, right? So Old Weller, that was my daily drinker before everybody went crazy for Old Weller. It was kind of on the bottom shelf, and you could buy it for $26 a bottle and walk out with cases. Back in the good old days, right? That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
But that was what I loved, and so that's what I'm going to make.
Right.
I want to make a wheated bourbon. And I'm proud to say that Paragon today, it's kind of punching above its weight and competes with the best wheated bourbons, that are out there. You guys know, but for your viewers, we won best bourbon overall at the 22 New York World Wine and Spirits Competition, which is kind of like our Super Bowl. But we won best single barrel 10 years or younger subcategory. Subcategory winners get to go compete in the major category, which is bourbon, and we won that as well. So that's a tremendous accomplishment for a little North Carolina brand that most people never heard of.
Yep.
We had the honor of speaking with some of your employees here. Actually, a family,
Yeah.
right?
Father-son
team.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about the culture that you've created here, not just at the distillery, but it's almost turned into this destination location with some of the new pieces that you put here on the property.
Well, yeah, I think that culture is critical for any organization, but particularly a little family-run company like ours. And we are a family-run company. We don't have outside investment dollars. It's just us, and we kind of live and die by how well we do our job. And it starts with that team, right? If the team isn't invested and committed, then we're nowhere. And the Fosters, father and son, that Matt and Ron that you met. Matt runs one of our production shifts, and his dad is out kind of selling and doing a lot of in-store tasting. But these guys love what they do. They believe in the company, and I would tell you that that's one of the things that really kind of makes us special, is that it doesn't matter who you go and you talk to, they're proud of their contribution, and they know they're making a difference, and they care about it. We really try to create an environment where people, they like being here. Still work, not every day is like Disneyland, but how many people get to say, I make bourbon for a living?
Right.
It's pretty damn cool. It's really cool, right?
It is. A lot of hard work and a lot of sweat in the background, as you can attest to back there. It's
Literally,
not glamorous.
yeah.
It's not just up here sipping and doing that. It's hard work.
No, it is hard work, yeah. Particularly in the summer, that's right.
Let's do one more question, Charles.
One more question. Gosh, I don't know. What else can we ask? Come up with something.
So, you've been inspirational in everything you've done here in the state of North Carolina. Where do you see the bourbon industry going as far as North Carolina is concerned?
I'm going to answer that question in two parts. So where I see the bourbon industry going is consumers are becoming much more educated, which is a great thing, thanks to guys like you. Consumers now recognize, as I said earlier, bourbon doesn't have to come from Kentucky, and great bourbons don't have to come from Kentucky. That doesn't take anything away from our good friends in Kentucky, right? It just means that, hey, we're all part of this broader community. It's not exclusive to one state or one area, and you can do great things anywhere. And isn't that really kind of what the American dream is about? Is that, given the opportunity, we can all do great things. And we see that in the bourbon industry. We see the consumer really latching onto that and accepting it, and we're part of it. We're proud to be a part of it. North Carolina is a remarkable place to make bourbon. So you got to remember, it's not just the distillation, the aging. We're in a subtropic climate here. We have these beautiful hot but humid summers. We have cold but short winters. That's really important. And our aging environment here is just spectacular. In some ways, it's superior. And so, not only are we tapping into that legacy that goes back 130 plus years, but we're bringing this whole new thing into how are we doing it using different technologies, but ultimately our environment here, the North Carolina produced grain, 86% of the grain that we use is produced right here within 20 miles of our distillery by family farmers. That's really important. It builds into the terroir of the whiskey, just like the aging environment. So we're putting North Carolina back on the map. 5 years from now, let's sit down again. You'll see it's not just us winning awards. It's going to be a lot of that other 104, 103 distilleries that are also a big part of that success story.
Nice.
Whiskey Tango Charlie, we are here at Southern Distillery right outside of Statesville, North Carolina. If you're ever in the area and you get an opportunity, this is a great destination location. We think that you should stop, right, Charles?
Absolutely. Pete, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You and Vienna for what you do.
Hey, we love it. Hey, we're here 7 days a week. We're here for educational tours, tastings, etc. We've got a beautiful event center. We got a whole bunch of little mini donkeys here. We're kid friendly. We love having people in. We'd love to see everybody. So thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Pete.
Thank you guys. All right.